Okay, now that you've had a chance to try to figure it out, we're going to come through and add some of it back together. So I'm not going to type out all the message here. I'm just going to put a system.out.println welcome to Dragon Fight. Again, you can add more or less here. Well, not really less, but you can write whatever you want here. It's just a print statement. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go into our start game method, and we're going to call our method display game info. This will start off by displaying what we'll write further below. So we're going to call it. Again, to make a method call, you just write the name of the method, so in this case info, and you send it any parameters that it needs. In this case it needs both the player life and the comp life. Again, comp life is the computer life. And then we're going to do our while loop, and this is going to be while not, which is the exclamation point, not is done, and again this is a method, and it takes in player life and comp life, and we need a bracket for our while loop. So then the first thing that we need to do inside of our while loop is make our if statements, and this if statement is if turn is true. So we can write that either as turn equals true, or we can just write as, it's also okay to write if turn. Notice that we have this here, so it's going to be a comment, but you can write it either way. So if turn is true, then we want to, what does it say? It says that we want to set comp life equal to, so comp life equals player move, and we're going to send it comp life. Again, this is a method call. Okay, and that's all we need to do for that if statement. And then we can do our else. It's going to be very similar. So we're going to say else, and say player life equals comp move, and send it the parameter player life. And then we need to end our else statement. Okay, and then we want to switch the value of turn, and that can be done by saying turn equals not turn, or turn equals exclamation point turn. And then we want to once again display the game info. So display game info, sending it the player life and comp life. Again, always end your statements with semicolons. Then we want to know who the winner is, because now we've gotten outside. Actually, we need to end our while loop. So this bracket lines up with our while loop and ends that. So if we get outside of our while loop, that means that the game is done, and which we will soon learn that in order for the game to be done, that means that either the player life is less than equal to 0, or the computer life is less than equal to 0. So now we need to check who the winner is. So we say if player life less than equal to 0, then we want to write system.out.println dragon has 1. Close off our if statement, and else we want to say system.out.println you have defeated the dragon. Again, you can say whatever you want here. It's up to you. We need to end the else statement and end our method, which we've already done there. So now we move on to our next method, which is the player's move. So the player's move has a couple things that we need to consider. We need to tell the player that it's their turn to fight. So we do a system.out.println it is your turn to fight. Again, you can choose to print out anything that you want. Let's give them some options. So system.out.println. So I want to tell them 1 for slap, and that gives you 1 point damage. 2 for, we're going to put that on new line, so we do a new line character, /n. 2 for sword, that gives you 2 point damage, or new line. 3 for magic sword, and that gives you 3 point damage, assuming that it does make contact. And then we want to end our print statement, so quote, parenthesis, semicolon. Then we want to store input value, so we're going to make a variable, an int variable, and we're going to call it answer equals input, because that's what our scanner is in this case. Go up here and see that we called our scanner input this time. So input dot next int. And then we're going to create our random. So that's going to be an int, and we're going to call it prob for probability equals, this one's called random dot next int, and we want it to choose between 20 numbers. And remember that it starts at 0 to start out, and we want it to start at 1, so we're going to just add 1. And then we need to actually compute what the impact is. So we're going to have a bunch of if statements. So the first statement is if answer equals 1. So that means that if they pressed 1, which means they wanted to slap, and that has double ampersands, the probability is greater than 5. So it won't happen all the time, but it's still pretty likely. We're going to say system.out.println you slapped the dragon. And we're going to update the player life, so player life, oh sorry, this is comp life. Comp life equals comp life minus 1, because this has a damage of 1. And we're going to do an else if, and this is else if the answer equals 2 and the probability is greater than 10. So again, not super likely, but still pretty possible. I'm just gonna save a little bit of time and copy paste these lines. So instead of you slap the dragon, say your sword made hit. So your sword had a direct hit, and we're going to take off 2 from the comp life. And our else if, do another else if. Again, I'm just going to copy paste just to save a little bit of time with the typing. So else if the answer equals 3 or probability is greater than 17, we want to say your magic sword had a direct hit, and we want to subtract 3 from the comp life, and that ends our else if. And then if none of these have happened, so else, we want to print out, so system.out.println your attack missed. And our else, and we want to return comp life. Okay. Do something kind of similar for our comp move. So we're going to create another random number. So int, I'm going to call this one probability again, equals random.next int, and we're going to give it value 10 plus 1, again for similar reasons as above. And this time we're just going to have 2 if statements. So if the probability is less than 7, we're going to do a system.out.println the dragon has attacked you. We're gonna change our player life, so we're gonna say player life equals player life minus 2, because if they make if the dragon succeeds in making contact, they will subtract 2 from our life. Else, we want to simply print out that the dragon missed, so system.out.println the dragon's attack missed. And then similarly to up above, we want to return the player life. Okay. Now we are in our isDone method, which is just going to check if either the player life or the comp life is less than or equal to 0. So we can do if player life less than or equal to 0, or, that's a vertical line, 2 vertical lines, comp life is less than or equal to 0. And if they are less than or equal to 0, we want to return true. Else, we want to return false. And then our